Lots to talk about today. Lots to talk about. Arguing with idiots on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere else you could think of, and my thoughts on defunding the police. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I did it. I cried 2 tears in a bucket. Fuck it.
Two tears in a bucket, and you know the rest. Thanks for joining us. We're here to talk about some bullshit. Let me know what you think. That's TTIAB, two tears in a bucket. You got it. Let's go. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen to? And how do I make money from this whole thing? The answer to each and every one of these questions is simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and super easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start. See you there. So first, let's talk about this idiot on Twitter. This is the main idiot I'm going to talk about, because other people just kind of make a comment and then they go on about their way. But this guy wanted to go back and forth for like over an hour, going back and forth with comments. And then after that last point that I make, he decides to go back, delete everything, and block me. And I took a little screenshot, posted it, tweeted it out. And just to let him know, like, bro, just because you were wrong, you don't have to, you don't have to run and hide. You don't have to block me. It's okay. Like, it's all right to be wrong. That's what, I feel like people forget that sometimes. Like, it's okay to be wrong. It's all right. But it was about something I seen on Twitter, because you always got Plies, you always got Diddy, all these people, with it's just their whole, they have no issue being racist towards white people. But if you just switch the word, like I've said in the past, if you just switch the word black for the word white, and the statement could be the same, they would have a problem with it. Everybody would have a problem with it. So then this fool decides to hop on my comment, because all I said was, I said exactly that. I said, if you just switched out the words, then, let me know if you'd still be okay with this statement. And then this fool decides to jump on and comment on mine, calling me a cracker this, honky that, go tell that to the KKK, da 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 da, and then going back and forth. And each time I would try to make a point, all he would come back with is calling me a honky, calling me a cracker, take my ass back in the cave, ha da 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 da, all this. You know what I mean? So then at the point, like, it just got to the point where I was like, first of all, you're just assuming, because my profile picture is the same as it is on here. You're just assuming that I'm white. So, but thanks for just judging me based on what you think my skin color is. You know what I mean? Because, there's nothing wrong with that when you do it. But then at no point did you try to make a point. Did you, even combat anything that I was saying? No, you were the only one to bring racial slurs and all this other stuff into it, and you had no point to make. Zero. And then, when I go and tell you about yourself, and tell you that you're just assuming my skin color, and you judge me based solely on that, then also to tell you that if your ancestors were actually here and you're a descendant of an actual slave, then in reality, your family has been here longer than mine. Because no one in my family, mother or father's side, showed up here till well after slavery was gone, was over and done with. So if you're actually a descendant of a slave, believe me, your family has been here way longer than mine has. But no. My family, or my people that you think are my people, they're the ones to blame. You know, the ones that weren't even here. And that's why I still don't understand the argument, because I don't understand racism from any side. It just doesn't make any sense. It's dumb thinking. But, you know, you claim all these things, but then for you to turn around and just blanket coat, you know, every white person or any color person, any ethnic person, ethnicity, you know, to just make these blanket statements is insane, because you wouldn't want that done to people of your color or your race or your ethnicity. But it's whenever people do it to white people, quote unquote white people, it's fine. Like, it's totally fine. No big deal. But anyway, enough about that idiot. If you want to see my replies and whatnot, because that's all you're going to see, you can hop over on my Twitter and you'll see all my replies. You can't see what he was saying because he deleted everything and then blocked me. Because, like I said, you don't want to have a conversation, and then when you get called out on your nonsense, you run and hide. You don't just admit that you were wrong. But nevertheless, if you feel like it, hop on over to Twitter, take a look. You can find me. Next, I want to talk about just this nonsense of defund the police. Defund the police. It makes zero sense, and I don't know who's saying these things or who started this nonsense, and why people just feel the need to just regurgitate, I don't know, headlines, talking points, I don't know, controversial topic. I don't know the right phrase or words to use. But defunding the police, yeah, not gonna work. But, so I can't remember if it was on a podcast, on a TV show, I'm pretty positive it was on a podcast at one point in time, but I can't remember whose, because I've listened to so many and it's been a very long time. But nevertheless, I did hear, and it made sense, that back in the day, when we actually had more police relations were better, and the community relationships were better. And that's only because, you know, cops were not so stressed out. They weren't overworked. They weren't constantly dealing with all of these high stress, high pressure, volatile situations. And they actually had time to build relationships out in the communities, build with the community, build relationships with those people, and build a trust with those people. Not to mention that then people from those neighborhoods were hired and they knew the neighborhood. That was their neighborhood. Maybe they didn't live there, maybe they grew up there, maybe they knew people from there, whatever the case may be. But they were actually from there, so they already had relationships in those communities. They knew people to talk to, and the community relations were just better when we had more police, which you're not going to get from defunding the police. If anything, they need more funding. Granted, not to just throw money their way and, you know, hope for the best. No, these things need to be monitored and regulated, and we need to know where the money is going, or really where it's coming from. Let's be real. That's what they really want to know, is where the money's coming from. But yeah, we need to know where it's going. You know, we need to know that it's creating more positions, that it's creating more programs, more training, but not just the more programs and more training. You can't just keep putting cops through training and thinking that that's going to solve the problem. Because I hate to tell you, you just keep sending to these trainings, and it's the same guy. When it's the same guy 8 days a week showing up, he's going to be burnt out. He's going to be stressed out. There's no way around that. No amount of de-escalation training is going to help that fact. It's just not going to happen. So what we need is more people, more bodies on the street to be out there, be a presence, to be building those relationships with the community, building a trust with the community, because the community is not going to trust you and not going to talk to you and not put their faith in you that you're doing the right thing when they don't know you. They've never seen you before. Most people don't have an interaction with the cop until there's a problem. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the cops and police departments and everything else are the end-all be-all, best thing that there could be. No, everybody needs to take responsibility for their own part in their own community. We actually need to build communities back, but that's another discussion for another episode. But nonetheless, also, police departments and all of this nonsense, they've gotten away from the protect and serve kind of aspect of it, because it seems like, I can't say this for a fact, I don't know, but it seems like they equate number of arrests and then ultimately a number of convictions to lower crime stats and, safer streets and safer communities and when in reality, that's probably not the case. Really, what you would want is lower crime. That would indicate good police work and better statistics for your community, I would think, not higher arrest rates. And it seems like, with all their tickets and all their nonsense, they're almost like just, revenue generators some of the time. Obviously, everybody thinks that with the quotas, when you hear about police quotas with tickets, come the end of the month, every cop and their mother's out giving tickets because they got to meet that quota. They're revenue generators. That's, at that time, that's what they are. Which is sad because, they equate that, that dictates their funding. How much money they bring in dictates how much money they get, I guess, from the government. So that is a problem. Defunding the police would be a problem. You think you have a problem now. Wait till you start defunding the police and they have to generate their own revenue or, do other things like that. Yeah, wait till you see the tickets and fines and everything else that you're going to get. Never mind these nonsense red light cameras that actually somebody posted on Facebook, an article, I can't remember what paper it was from, or, website that it was from, that said, all of this quarantining and people being unemployed and is actually hurting red light camera revenue. And it was like, oh, but I thought back when you guys put them in, you said it was about safety. So I would think that, safety's probably up because there's probably not as many people on the road, not running red lights. And yeah, just because your red light ticket revenue is down, that's probably a good thing that people aren't, blowing the lights. That's kind of the goal here, isn't it? No, apparently it's to generate revenue, and this is hurting the revenue. But I digress. Anyway, obviously, we're working with a very difficult system. And yes, the system itself varies from state to state to state to state. Where I grew up is much different than where I live now. And where I live now, I'm sure, is much different than other places in middle America or, up in the Northwest, wherever. I know it's definitely different than Texas because I've been to Texas. But these are just things that we have to look at and we have to see. And no, I'm sorry, I hate to break the news to you, but it don't matter who the president is. He ain't gonna fix your problems. He ain't gonna fix everything. It's not gonna happen. The president doesn't have that much power. There's a difference between the federal government and your local state government and your county government and everything else. There's levels to this. The president just can't be like, okay, this is it and this is the deal for everybody, everywhere, all the time. It don't work that way. I hate to break the news to you. On certain matters, certain subjects, sure. But on the vast majority of things, no. It gets broken down to a state level and then probably down to a county level, depending on the situation, the law, what we're talking about. But again, I digress. So yes, it's going to take a lot, man. It's going to take a lot, but it's going to take a lot of work, no matter what we do. There's no cure-all. There's nobody who's going to come, wave a magic wand, and it's all going to be fixed. We all got to do our part to make sure that we do the right thing. But I can guarantee that defunding the police will not help anyone's situation. And that's all I got to say about that. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking around. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you want to shoot us an email, it's ttiabpodcast@gmail.com. That's ttiabpodcast@gmail.com. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and if not, 2 tears in a bucket.
Yeah, I did it. I cried 2 tears in a bucket. Fuck it.